today. And okay, dear YouTube, what the hell is this stuff? YouTube, what the hell is this stuff? Sorry about that. YouTube giving me some bad ambient choices this time around. Nah, skip that. Well, I find something to listen to while we're going through the Blender documentation so I can at least understand how Blender works. There we go. I like this. I'm gonna go with this. Last we left off, we had finished user interface and hopped right into the editor's part of the documentation. Of which we left off with a navigation part of the editor, aligning. Let me just put it on screen now that I got it all set up. I'm gonna try and get through this as fast as possible so we can hop onto the editor as soon as possible. Also, hopefully there's some more hands-on related stuff on this. Thinking maybe after I finish with the editor, maybe I'll hop on into it and try and make something random. Some random object or something. Don't know exactly what I'm gonna make yet. I might put a poll on Discord. Or maybe ask for suggestions there. And we'll see what I make. Before I go on, and because I'm already forgetting, down the description below there's a link to the Power Shop where you can purchase energy mixes, sleep mixes, hydration mixes, shakers, and even stickers. If you use creator code BLACKHEART, you will get a 10% discount. And let's not waste any more time and hop on right into this. For those that are watching this for the first time, I do this live, this whole Blender stuff, alongside with Krita, which I'm learning both things at the same time. Later after the stream, I separate both into 2 separate videos and later upload them to both YouTube and VStream. So those that want the Blender part only, they can watch that, and those who want the Krita part only, then they can watch that. And for those that probably hear the fan in the background, I am not turning that thing on because it is freaking hot today. Do let me know if the music is loud though, so in case you guys cannot hear me. On my recordings I could still hear myself quite well, but well, you never know. Anyways, let's hop on right in. Aligning. This option allows you to align and orient the view. Axes. Blender uses the right angle Cartesian. I cannot pronounce this properly. Coordinates systems. I know the cardinal coordinates. I think it's Cartesian. I don't know what that's supposed to. I cannot remember properly. Coordinate systems with the C axis pointing upward. The Blender has a different one then. Normally the y-axis is up and down normally, like in Unreal. But in this case, it's like one Jen mentioned on our last stream, Unreal stream. Some editors actually switch the Y with the C. In this case, C is up and down and Y is front and back, which is weird and, in my point of view, wrong. Like, when you think up and down, you think Y-axis, not the C-axis. I don't know why they chose to go with it. If someone knows why they chose to go with this, do let me know, because to me this, I don't get it. Why is the C up and down and not the Y? What's the purpose of using it like that? You can select the view direction from the 3D viewport with the view menu entries navigation gizmo or by pressing on the hotkey, which again is still weird for me. I'm probably gonna be screwing up this a lot of time because I'm used to with the y-axis being up and down. I don't know. I'm sure going to screw up a few times with that. And hopefully my audio is actually working. Yes, it is working. Okay, never mind. The operator changes view to be aligned with the specific global axis, which is again not even in order. Like 7's top, 1's front, and 3's right. Like because they're not consistent. This is just weird. I probably would not rely on the shortcut because how am I supposed to remember these like random numbers? Because that's how it feels. It just feel like random numbers. I'm pretty sure this can be remap. I'm still not gonna rely on that. Holding control shows the other side of the axis. On, back, and left. Why is it like that? I don't know. We'll see if I ever have the need for it, but I highly doubt it. This already doesn't feel intuitive at all. If I do happen to need that, I'll probably end up remapping it to something. I don't know. Holding shift aligns the view relative to the active selection. So you can, for example, view a rotated object side or align the view to an active face of the mesh to mesh edit mode. The view can also be aligned by holding Alt middle mouse button and moving the mouse towards the view to align to it, which is probably will rely on the most. Align view menu. Align view to activate. To active, I mean. To the options in this menu aligns your view with specified local axis of the selected active object, bone, or in edit mode with a normal of the select face. If I end up making a lot of mistakes, like there is a lot of heat here today, it is kind of hard to think properly. Like, even had to remove all my clothes, like, yeah. It is so hot today. Downshift while using the numpad to set the view axis. Align active camera view, give the active camera the current viewpoint. Control number 0, number pad 0. I'm not gonna use the number pad because that's where all my shortcuts are at. Align active camera, choose to select it. Points the active camera towards the selected object based on the selection of the current viewpoint. Center cursor on frame all. Moves the cursor back to the origin and zoom in out so that you can see everything in your scene. That would be Shift C. Okay, I need to remember that one. Center view to cursor. Centers view to 3D cursor. View lock to active. Centers the view to the last selected active object, overriding other view alignment settings. Let's see. I guess I would land up from when I need to constantly be looking at the same object and I know I'm gonna be turning the camera around a lot but don't want the camera to move away from it in any way, shape or form. Unless I absolutely need it to. View lock clear returns the view align to the view aligned setting before use of the lock active. Okay, my music just suddenly stopped. There we go. Let's see, perspective orthographic. That's a weird word. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Mode, all modes, menu, or number pad key, which I'm not going to press. This operator changes the projection of the viewport camera. Each 3D viewport supports two different types of projections. These are demonstrated in the figure below. Okay. This orthographic projection and perspective projection. Trying to like process what I'm seeing. Perspective I kind of understand if I'm looking at an angle and this is getting smaller, but here I'm looking at it from the smaller side. Yes, it looks to get bigger, like mirrored in some way. I don't get it, or can't even think how I would use this. I don't know, I'm no artist, so this will take me some time to understand and figure out how to properly use it. Our eyes is used to perspective viewing because distant objects appear smaller. Orthographic perspective often seen a bit odd at first, because it definitely is messing with my eyes, because objects stay in the same size regardless of their distance. Wait, that's the same size? It is like viewing the scene from an infinitely distant point. Nevertheless, orthographic viewing is very useful because it provides a more technical insight into the scene, making it easier to model and judge proportions. Wait, this is all the same size? I mean, this feels smaller to me than this, but this is all supposed to be the same size? Orthographics messing with my mind! I don't know how much I'll rely on that. It messes too much with my mind. Options. To change toggle between the two projections for the 3D view. For the 3D viewport, select view perspective orthographic or use the shortcut number pad 5. Might end up changing if I do happen to rely on that, which I highly doubt it. Changing the perspective from 3D viewport does not affect the way the scene will be rendered. Rendering is in perspective by default. If you need to create an orthographic rendering, select the camera, go to the camera tab and press orthographic button in the lens panel. See also render perspective and camera projection, which I have not. I don't think I've gotten to that, or maybe I did. No, I'm pretty sure I have not gotten into any of that, nor do I see it in this section of the whole viewport stuff. let's see, local view and toggle local view. Okay. Number slash. I think I know what key that is. Since I don't not using an American keyboard, I'm using the Argentinian keyboard. There's a few slight differences. Global view shows all 3D objects in the scene. Local view isolates the selected object or objects so that they are the only ones visible in the viewport. This is useful for working on objects that are obscured by other ones, or to speed up the viewport performance in heavy scenes. Local view is contextual, meaning that that can be set per 3D viewport. So if, like in this example, showing like selected this, I used the toggle local view and it got rid of everything but what I selected, but even though the stuff still exists. At least that's what I'm understanding. I guess I could use it when like I do have like other stuff and I want to like edit something very specific, but there's something the way making it hard to model. Just drinking some water right now. Those notes cover changes in local view which are not immediately obvious. 3D cursor in local view in 3D cursor is not locked to the scene. Instead, each view has an independent cursor location. Layers. Local view bypasses layers using only the selected object when entering local view. Although new objects can be added while in local view. That makes sense. I mean, you're probably trying to add a bunch of stuff to it, but to make it look different. Tip. Accidentally pressing the number pad slash can happen rather often if you're new to Blender. So if a bunch of objects in your scenes seem to have mysteriously vanished, try turning off local view. Remove from local view. Objects can be removed from local view by selecting them and using the remove from local view operator. This will remove the selected objects this will move the selected object back to global view, and all other objects will remain in local view. If the last remaining object is removed, the local view will be left empty and it will have to exit local view to see any object. Makes sense? Okay, there. Camera view. And there's that familiar monkey head. The camera view shows the current scene as seen from the current active camera viewpoint. The camera view can be used to virtually compose shots and preview how the scene will look when rendered. The rendered image will contain everything within the dashed line. Dashed line? What dashed line? I guess the outline you mean? I'm not sure. Also see camera settings for details how camera settings are used to display and rendering. And active camera can be selected while in camera. Hold on. There we go. On camera view using the camera frame, assuming the object isn't hidden. Just fixing the music just now because it had gone completely silent and I didn't understand why. This switches the view to active camera. The triangle above the camera will become shaded when active. Okay. Excuse me. Yeah, even though I had some coffee just now, I don't know where that young came from. Well, then again, I'm not much of a reader. This is the camera currently used for rendering and when viewing from the camera. This set the current active object as an active camera and switches to the camera view. The active camera can also be set in Scene tab of the properties. Ow, I just hit my desk, sorry. So, I can technically have multiple cameras? I know that it's saying this is active camera, but what about the other two? Like this orange one and this black one. What is that supposed to be? Note. The active camera as well as the layer can be specified to a given view or global lock to the whole scene. See local camera. Animated camera switching. By default, a scene contains one camera. However, a scene can contain more than one camera, but only one of them will be used at a time. So you will only need to add a new camera if you are making cuts between them. See animating cameras. I guess I think that's the only reason you would add another camera is just for animation. I don't see any other reason to do so. I'm not gonna be messing with that just yet. Right now I just want to figure out how to make an object. And how to navigate through that 3D plane. Frame camera bounds. Center the camera view inside the 3D viewport screen area and resize the view to fit within the areas bound. Maybe explain why you would do that. What the reasoning behind that? I don't know. Camera navigation. The camera no, there are where does I got the camera from? Sorry about that. Heat's messing with me right now. There are several different ways to navigate and position the camera in your scene. Some of them are explained below. Zooming in and out is possible in this view, but to change the viewpoint you have to move or relocate the camera. Hence, the active camera might be any kind of object. So these actions can be used. For example, to position and aim light. Now, let me drink some water real quick. It's so hot today. I'm gonna probably be drinking water very often. I don't know how long I'm gonna go because of this heat. Camera view position. By enabling lock camera to view in the view panel of the sidebar region, while in camera view, you can navigate the 3D viewport as usual, while remaining in camera view. Controls are exactly the same as when normally moving in 3D. See fly walk navigation, which we already did, for first person navigation to move the active camera to. We already looked at on a previous video. Roll, pan, dolly, and track. To perform these camera moves, the camera must first be selected to transform operation apply to it. The following actions also assume that you are in camera view. Having done so, you can now manipulate the camera using the same tools that are used to transform any object. Roll, press R to enter object rotation mode. The default will be to rotate the camera in the its local Z-axis. The axis orthogonal to the camera's view. That word's gonna mess with me. Which is the definition of a camera roll. Do a barrel roll. It's no, actually, that wouldn't be a barrel roll, more like a backflip because it's using the Z-axis, which is up and down. Vertical, pan, or pitch. This is just a rotation along the local X-axis. Press R to enter the object rotation mode, then X twice for the first press selects the global axis. Pressing the same letter a second time selects the local axis. This works with any axis. See the axis locking page, which I don't think I've gotten to that yet. Horizontal, pan, or yawn. This corresponds to the rotation around the camera's local Y-axis. Press R and then Y twice. To dolly a camera, press G, then middle mouse button, or C twice. Doesn't say exactly what dolly does. Sideways tracking. Press G and then move the mouse to. You can use the X twice or Y to get the pure horizontal or pure vertical sideways tracking. Viewpoint. Wait, don't we? Is this a repetition of something we've already seen? Blender uses a right angle. Yes, it's repeating itself. Why did it all of a sudden just repeat itself? Blender? I'm gonna skip that because for some reason it just repeated itself. Because that's exactly what we started with. Huh. Blender seems to have some repeated pages. I need to be careful with those so I don't end up reading the same thing twice. View regions. Okay. Clipping region allows you to define a clipping region to limit the 3D viewport display to a portion of 3D space. It can assist in the process of working with complex models and scenes. It's like a hollow structure or something, or a box. Once active, you have to draw a rectangle with a mouse in the wanted 3D viewport. It becomes a clipping volume of 4 panels. A right angle parallelepiped. What? Parallelepiped. How do you pronounce this? This is one weird word. Infinite length. If your view is orthographic. Okay, let me open this to see if it tells me what that is. Once it decides to load. Let me read this part. A rectangular base pyramid of infinite height. If your view is in perspective. Let me see. Geometry is a 3-dimensional figure formed by 6 parallelograms. The term rhomboid is also sometimes used in this meaning. By analogy, it relates to the parallelogram just as a cube related to a square. So it's technically this, the rhomboid, pretty much. And that's weird. Whoop. That's the Krita part. Not gonna mess with that yet. I don't know why it went straight to that after I closed it. I do have the tab open just so I can maybe start the next section of the stream much faster. Okay, that's a weird word. I'm not gonna lie. I can't even pronounce that properly. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering it big time. What was I? Okay, here. Once clipped is used, you will only see what's inside the volume you have defined. Tools such as paint, sculpt, select, transform, snapping, etc. will also ignore geometry outside the clipping bounds. To delete this clipping, press Alt B again. So it's Alt B. So selecting region selected, and view rotated. This is from the outside. And what is this? From the other side, I guess? Let me make that bigger. Oh, it's just a slightly tilted. Not gonna lie, that is weird. Nor do I know any proper application for that. Unless you were gonna leave that as is, but then whatever you put will also be affected by it, by the clipping. I don't know. I also have to probably experiment with that if I ever happen to need it. That's a big if. Does anyone actually use clipping? And if you do, what do you use it for? Like, what use does it have? Do let me know down in the chat or down in the comments below if you're watching the video or VOD. The region volume clipping image shows an example of using the clipping tool with the cube. Start by activating the tool within Alt B with Alt B. Upper left of the image. This will generate a dashed crosshair cursor, click with the mouse button and drag out and out a rectangular region shown in the upper right. Now the region is defined and clipping is applied against the region in the 3D space. Notice that part of the cube is now invisible or clipped. Use the middle mouse button to rotate the view and you will see that only what is inside the pyramidal volume is visible. All the editing tools still function as normal, but only within the pyramidal clipping volume. I'm pretty sure butchering this again. Enough of the hard words there, Blender. The dark gray area is the clipping volume itself. Once clipping is deactivated, all of 3D space will become visible again. Render region. When using render shading mode, it can be quite slow to render the entire 3D viewport. To fix this, you can define a sub-region to render just a portion of the viewport instead of the entire viewport. This can be very useful for reducing render time for quick previews in an area of interest. Okay, there's an example, like that's without shading, and I guess this box is telling, okay, render the shadow here, but not everywhere else. Or it's just zooming into it, I don't know. Kinda hard to tell. Tip: you can also use this region in the final render by setting a render region from which the camera view and an enabling region in the dimension panel. Also see zoom region. Okay, contextual view. Let me drink some water again, real quick. Oh no, what now? OBS just had a little hiccup. Let me check. How are things on you guys' end? Because I didn't get any error on YouTube or VStream, like at all. I don't see any error sign. I don't know, kick, but for some reason I just got like a little error saying problems with connection with OBS. I don't know why. I don't know what just happened. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. No, alright, I was just starting contextual views. The 3D viewport has several contextual view modes that can be set from a particular 3D viewport. This view can change how the overall 3D viewport looks or how you interact with objects. Quad view. What was that? There's a dog. Toggling quad view will split the 3D view into 4 views. 3 orthographic side views and 1 camera user view. This view will allow you to instantly see your model from a number of viewports in this arrangement. You can zoom and pan each view independently, but you cannot rotate the view. Okay, so I'm guessing this is camera. These are the top, front, side view. I'm guessing there's like must be a way to set which one you actually want to. Maybe you want to see the back and not the front, not the top or the front. So you just want to see the back. But I do see uses for this. Options lock. If you want to be able to rotate each view, you can uncheck the lock position, which I don't know why would unlock set positions. Box syncs the view position between side views, requires a lock to be enabled. Clip clips object based on what is visible in the other views, requires box to be enabled. I guess like if I zoom in here, like things on these views will actually begin to get clipped. At least that's what I'm understanding. Let's see, 3D cursor. The 3D cursor is a point in 3D space which can be used for a number of purposes. Placement. There are a few methods to position the 3D cursor, which I'm guessing this little circle thingy. At least I'm thinking that is. Direct placement with the mouse. With the cursor tool enabled, using left mouse button in the 3D viewport will place and it's not going for some reason. We'll place the 3D cursor directly under your mouse pointer. The view space is used to control the rotation of the 3D cursor. For accuracy, you should use 2 perpendicular orthogonal 3D views, i.e. any combination of top 7, front 1 and side 3. That way you can control the positioning along 2 axes in one view and determine the depth in the second view. Okay. By default, the depth of the geometry under the cursor is used. This can be disabled using the cursor surface project toggle in the preferences. See snap menu, which allows the cursor placement navigate relative to scene object. Sorry about that. What is wrong with me today? Like, is he really messing me up that much? Ugh. 3D cursor panel. The 3D cursor can also be positioned and oriented by editing these values. Location, the location of the 3D cursor. Rotation, the rotation of the 3D cursor. relation mode, the relation mode of the 3D cursor, which doesn't say much, honestly. Not enough details there, Blender. Usage. The 3D cursor is used as the origin of any added object, can be used and moved with the snap tool, and is an option for the pivot point. Okay. I'll maybe understand it better once I actually get to doing stuff. Selecting this page, discuss specific selection tool for the 3D viewport. The 3D viewport also uses the general select tool, which are described in the interface section, which we already covered in a previous video. Center point. Select these objects by center point rather than its context. Menu. Wait. Select the object by a center point rather than in context. Okay. If the objects are overlapping in the view, a menu of objects under the cursor can be used, so you can pick an object by its name. These can be combined, so you can, for example, toggle the selection from an object center point. Just checking the music, so I couldn't hear it. I do have my headset volume lowered, so in case anything goes off or something happens, I can actually hear it. No, right click, select. See, select with mouse button option. Use the advantage that selection is possible without having to switch to the select tool. Well, that was it for selection. Okay, so within the viewport section now. Which not as long as I thought, but then we'll see. We're just reaching the 50-minute mark, so I'm gonna go for a little while longer. The controls do seem to cover a bit. We shall see. There we go. Transform orientation. Okay. Transform orientation affects the behavior of transformation, location, rotation, and scale. You will see an effect on the object gizmo, the widget in the center of the selection, as well as on transformation. Contains axis locking. For example, when you press X during the execution of the operation, it will constrain the transformation to the global x-axis, but if the x and x a second time, it will constrain to your transform orientation x-axis. I did not understand any of that. I'm not gonna lie, actually. I did not understand any of this. what exactly would I be transforming? Because I hear transforming, it's like changing something. I don't know. The orientation option can be set through the transform orientation selector. Let's really viewport header. In addition to the 5 preset options, you can define your own custom orientation. See custom orientation below. Orientation global aligns the transformation axis to the world space. The axis in the top right corner of the view and of the grid floor shows the axis of the world coordinate system. Local aligns the transformation axis to the selected object space. When an object is related, the direction of the local gizmo matches to the object rotation relative to the global axis. While the global gizmo always corresponds to the world coordinates, aligning the transformation. Let me start that over. What happened there? I don't know what just happened there. I kind of like lost track of it. Rotation to the okay, I was right here. Normal. Aligns the transformation axis so that the z-axis of the gizmo will match the average normal of the selected element. If multiple elements are selected, it will orient towards the average of those normal. The object mode, in object mode, this is equivalent to local orientation. Okay. Gimbal, how do you pronounce that? Align each axis to the Euler rotation axis as used for input. Use the gimbal behavior that can be changed depending on the current rotation mode. You align the transformation axis to the window of the 3D viewport, of which goes back to normal, which is Y becomes up and down, and C becomes forward and backwards. That's inconsistent because one says C is up and down, the other said now C is towards always from the screen, like forward and backwards. Okay, Blender consistency. Cursor aligns the transformation axis to the 3D cursor. Example, which is using rotation as a means of transforming it. Custom orientation. You can define the custom transform orientation using objects in or mesh elements. Custom transform orientation defined from objects used the local orientation of the object, where those defined from selected mesh elements, vertices, edges, faces, uses a normal orientation of the selection. I think that customer is like putting in the numbers that will edit the orientation through numbers, or by just grabbing and dragging on the axis you want to turn. What was I? Over here, I believe. The transform orientation panel from the header of the 3D port can be used to manage transform orientation. Selecting the active object, adding a plus icon, deleting X icon, and rename custom orientation. Which I'm losing my voice a little bit there, sorry. The default name for these orientations is derived from what you have selected. If it's an edge, it will be title edge. If it's also an object with some, if it's an object, it will take what object name, etc. Create orientation. To create a custom orientation, select the object or mesh element and click the bottom of the transform orientation panel. Okay, this doesn't tell me much. Okay, there you go. Excuse me. Try to hold that one in. Just after creating the orientation, the create orientation adjust last operation panel gives a few options. Name the text for naming the new orientation. Use view. The new orientation will be aligned to the view space. If use after creation, if checked, it leaves the newly created orientation active and override previous. If the new orientation is given an existing name, the suffix will be added to it to avoid overriding the old ones, unless override previous is checked, in which case it will be overwritten. No shit. I don't see much of custom actually there. Okay. Let me use some water. Maybe they didn't put enough coffee on my mate, that's why. Pivot point. This actually I think is going to be useful. When rotation or scaling an object or a group of vertices, edges, or faces, you may want to move the pivot point to make it easier to manipulate an object. Using this selector in the header of any 3D viewport, you can change the location of the pivot point. Okay, and pivot point types, which apparently they all have their own respective section. Okay. This is significantly longer than I thought it would be. Bounding box center. Bounding box. Okay, let's finish loading there, Blender, please. The bounding box is a rectangular box that is wrapped as tightly as possible around the selection. It is oriented parallel to the world axis. In this mode, the pivot point lies in the center of the bounding. You can set the pivot point to bounding box with comma, or via the menu in the other header. The image below shows how the object's bounding box size is determined by the size of the object. I'm guessing like this dot in the middle is gonna be the pivot point, and what we would want to edit if we want to like move this on a specific position, like shown here in this image. In object mode, transformation takes place relative to the location of the object's origin, indicated by the yellow circle, and the size of the object is not taken into account. The image below shows the results of using the bounding box as the pivot point in some situations. I guess it does have a limit of where you want to put it. Like right here, it's like right in the corner, but you cannot take it any further than that. I'm assuming you can't take it out of that bounding box. In the example, the orange rectangle has the origin located on the far left of the mesh, while the blue rectangle has its origin located in the center of the mesh. Okay, when a single object is selected, the rotation takes place around the origin. So wait, so you can't technically take it outside? Because it's showing like here's the pivot point, which may move like alright, over here for some reason. As an example. The image above left shows that when multiple objects are selected, the pivot point is calculated based on the bounding box of the selected objects. More precisely, the centers of the objects are taken into account. In edit mode, this time it is the geometry that is enclosed in the bounding box. This bounding box is in edit mode, takes no account of the other objects, only the center of the selected vertice. Okay, maybe there might be a situation where that's necessary. Can't really think about it. This one just looks as if they were being mirrored. Although the pivot point here is in the middle of it all, while this has pivot point inside the thing. Not gonna dwell too much on that. Let's carry on. 3D cursor. The 3D cursor is the most intuitive of the pivot points. With the 3D cursor selected as the active pivot point for either the header or via period, simply position the 3D cursor and then do as the required transformation or rotation is and scaling transformation will now be done relative to the location of the 3D cursor. Is that some way to make it like the door a little bit easier to make? As long as it's the same size. I was relatively short, not gonna. I was like, wait, is this starting to repeat again? But no, I don't recall seeing these. It's individual origins. In object mode, the origin of the object is shown in the 3D viewport by a small orange circle that tells Blender the relative position of the object in 3D space, and my music is not starting for some reason. There we go. Sorry about that. Get the music, the nice vibe music going again. Normally I would listen to like hard rock, heavy metal, but for this situation I feel like it would be fitting. Maybe once I start actually drawing, I will start actually putting my sort of music, if I can get my hands on something that won't be copyrighted. The origin of the object, and I think I just read this. Yes, I did. The origin does not have to be located in the center of the geometry, e.g. mesh. This means that an object can have an origin located on one end of the mesh, or even completely outside the mesh. For example, the orange rectangle in the image above has the origin located in the far left of the mesh, while the blue rectangle has the origin located in the center of the mesh. When the pivot point is set to an individual origin, the origin of the object remains in place, while the object rotates or scales around it. Rotation around individual origin, middle, compared to the median point. It's in case like just these middle ones, but this one also has like one in here that's making them all move. And same goes for scaling. Yeah, if there was like one right here in the middle. In edit mode, oh, this actually looks kind of cool. I would use this to like maybe create like a floor design that actually stands out. I would do, heck, I would even use that looking just like that. Actually, it was kind of cool. Not gonna lie. This one too. This one sort of, but this one's the most. They should look boring. when you rotate or scale the touching face edges, they are instead as a single element and keep the shape of the group. Each group is transformed independently around its median point. So like similar to this, but you're not seeing like the where the middle is actually. Now let me drink some water real quick first. How long have we been going on this one? We can still go for a little while longer. How far are we? We are right here. Almost through pivot point. Median point. The median point can be considered to be broadly similar to the concept of center of gravity, cog. If we assume that every element, object, face, vertex, etc. of the selection has the same mass, the median point would sit at the point of equilibrium for the selection. In object mode, Blender only considers the object origin when determining the median point. This can lead to some counterintuitive results. That's gonna happen a lot to me, I'm guessing. In the figure median point in object mode, below, you can see that the median point between the object's origin and can be nowhere near the object mesh geometry center. Like here it is in the center, but right here it's like a bit of a ways from all the objects, and here are their actual centers. So like these should actually be inside each one of these, but it's not. In edit mode, let me start off. In the edit mode, the median point is determined via the part of the selection that has the most elements. For example, the figure median point in edit mode, when there are two cubes with the equal number of vertices, the median point lies directly between the two cubes. But if you subdivide one cube multiple times so that you can have many more vertices, you can see that the median point has shifted to the region with the most vertices. I hear both of them are saying, but in this case, this one has like a bunch of vertices. But yeah, that did make it shift. Hopefully, that median point can actually change. Hopefully. Carrying on. Last part of the pivot point. Active element. The active element can be an object, vertex, edge, or face. The active element is the last one to be selected and will be shown in a lighter orange color when the object mode and white when in edit mode. Okay, So in one mode it'll be orange and the other mode's gonna be white. Okay, something for me to remember. Which I'm gonna forget it. With active elements as pivots sets to active, all transformations will occur relative to the active element. Okay. Just scanning the images right now, that's all. In object mode, when in object mode, rotation and scaling happens around the origin of the object. This is shown by the figure to the below, where the active object, cube, remains in the same location. Note its position relative to the origin point, to the background, while the other objects rotate and scale in relation to the active selected. It's kind of hard to tell with the circle because it's kind of the same in every image except here where it's actually being shrunk and slightly moved in. Here you have everything like rotated, I guess, tilted. In edit mode, using the active element as a pivot point in edit mode may seem complex, but all the possible formations follow this few rules. The pivot point is always at the median of the active element. The transformation occurs by transformation of the vertices of the selected element. If an unselected element shape shares one or more vertices with selected element, then the unselected ones will get some degree of transformation also, thus generating these effects. I like how this one looks. This one again looks like a good floor design. Let us examine the following example. In each case, we will see the two rules apply. Single selection. When one single selection is selected, it becomes automatically active, and in the image below you can see that when it transforms, its vertices move, while the consequence sorry about that consequence that any adjacent element which shares one or more vertices with the active element is also transformed. Let us review each case. Face have their pivot points where the median of their vertices is. Edges have their pivot point on the middle, since this is always there when median of the edges is. And I need to start a new playlist right now because that one I had on just ended. Sorry about that. A single vertex has no dimensions at all, so it cannot show any transformation except translation, which is not affected by the pivot point. Okay. And look at this mess of images. Let's see. Multiple selections. When multiple elements are selected, they all transform. The pivot point stays on the same place as what we have described above. In the image below, the selected elements have been relocated. For faces, the transformation occurs around the median of the vertices from the selected face, the first one walk with multiple ones, which is also keeps the same behavior with their pivot points at their median. There is a case for vertices this time. The active vertices is where the pivot point resides on the vertices are transformed relative to it. Okay. Okay, I think I get what you mean. Like right here, all three of these are, but this is the pivot point, this white one, and you're rotating it, so it's dragging these two. Same deal here. You're rotating this one, it's actually dragging the other line. In this case, this box is the one side, it's dragging the other selected box. This should be the end of pivot point. Yep, that goes back to, it'll take us to snapping. And I think that, how long is it? It's not very long, so let's go through snapping and then call it there for Blender. Snapping, the ability to snap objects and mesh elements to various types of scene elements during a transformation, is available by toggling the magnet icon in the 3D viewport header button. Okay. Snap elements. Increment snaps to grid points when the orthographic view. The snapping increment changes depending on the zoom level. On the zoom level? Note, in this context, the grid does not mean the visual grid cue displayed. Snapping will use the resolution of the displayed grid, but all transformations are relative to the initial position before the snap operation. Why tied to the zoom? I don't get that. Let me join some more real quick. Vertex snaps to vertices of the mesh object. Edge snaps to the edge of the mesh object. Face snaps to the surface of the face of a mesh object. This is useful for retopologize. What the hell is this word? Okay, I have never heard of this word, so if anyone knows what this means, let me know. What the hell is retopologizing? Because I'm no artist, that's why this is unknown to me. This is alien to me. What? It doesn't even like give me a description of what it is. Volume snaps to a region with the volume of the first object found below the mouse cursor. Unlike the other option, this one controls the depth, i.e. Z coordinates, in current view space of the transform element. By toggling the button, that appears to the right of the snap target menu, see below. Target objects will be considered as a whole when determining the volume center. Edge center snaps to the middle of the edge. This snap element only pertains to the mesh object. Okay. Edge perpendicular snaps to the nearest vertex in the edge that makes the perpendicular angle. The snap element only pertains to the mesh object. Tip: multiple snapping modes can be enabled at once by shift left mouse button. The different snapping elements. Okay, just with those images would actually help. But I think I do understand now by just looking at the images. Snap target. Snap target options become active when either vertex, edge, face, or volume is selected as the snap element. These determine what part of the selection snaps to the target. Active moves the active element vertex in edit mode, object in object mode to the target. Median moves the medium for the selection of the target. Center moves the current transformation center to the target. Can be used in 3D cursor to snap with an offset. Closest moves to move the closest point to the selection of the target. Okay. I guess it's different examples. Closest will snap like the edge of the top down over to the top of the box, so that is the closest. Active, I don't, I guess it's depending on what you're selected, like snap to whatever is you selected. It's kind of hard to tell what it does here. Same deal here with medium, because all it does is just move the snap to the middle. I guess it actually aligns, like say the two objects are one thing, this has somewhere inside of all this, and this will move to where that medium is. Anyways, alright, this one is kind of hard to tell what it's doing. I guess I'll know for sure once I actually start using them. Additional snap options. This is much longer than I thought it would be. As seen by the yellow highlighted area in the image above, resides the snap target. Additional controls are available to alter snap behavior. These options vary between modes, object and edit, as well as snap element. The four options available are absolute grid snap, available only for the increase option. Snap to grid instead of snapping in increments relative to the current location. Back face culling excludes back facing geometry from snapping. Don't really know what it's referring to there. Project project onto self, available only in editing mode for vertices, edges, faces, and volume. Snap elements to its own mesh. Align rotation to target. Available for vertices, edges, faces, and volumes. When the snap affects rotation, this aligns rotation with the snapping of the target. Project individual elements. Project individual elements. Available in snap to faces. Project individual elements on the surface of other objects. Okay, we get it. Snap peel object available for snap to volume. Considers objects as whole when finding volume center. Effect limits the effect of the snap to the transformation type. Multiple snap targets. Once transforming a selection with snapping on, not just when holding control, you can press A to mark the current snapping point, then proceed to mark as many other snapping points as you wish, and the selection will be snapped to the average location of all the marked points. Marking a point more than once will give it more weight in the average location. Instead of being like around here, which would be the middle of all these, they like push it over to this because this one has more weight to it. Oh boy, snapping sure has a lot, so I might actually leave snapping there. Although no, actually no, snapping just ended. Never mind. That moved on to proportional editing, which is already significantly lengthy. And I've covered a little over an hour and a half for this. So I'm gonna leave the Blender part there. Let's see, so right now I'm just gonna do a little YouTube outro for the video. Not ending the stream, so for what I'm out to say this. So there are a few ports I didn't get, so for those that maybe understood those, can maybe explain to me in some simpler way down in the comments below. Like, I'm no artist, so a few of these things are a bit hard for me to understand. No, and it was a double. Okay, so I'm gonna leave Blender right here. So for those watching the video, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye.